warm us up this morning. And so the piyut goes, B'motzei Menucha, I put up on the screen, as our rest is coming to an end, which is Shabbat is over. Kidamnucha tefillah, we approach you first. Hat az nechamim arom, please listen with your ear from above. Yoshev Tila, the one who is enthroned upon praise. And the refrain which goes through this, Lishma el harina ve'el hatfilah, to listen to our song and to our prayer. And then it continues the same thing with the refrain back and forth, back and forth. You can see I'm just scanning down quickly. Comes to the El Melech, which is the thing we have running again on Yom Kippur. God is enthroned upon the throne of compassion and the 13 attributes of mercy. So it's repeated thematically through the liturgy. So now I'm going to go to listen to an interesting Hasidic rendition of this piyut. I'm going to give it a second to start up. Right. Give it a second.
Latvia Oy 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 ha ta va oz nechumi muroy ha va ta oz nechumi muroy yo yishayv yo yishayv yo yishayv deilu yo yishayv deilu yo 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 ha ta ta va oz nechumi muroy ha va ta oz nechumi muroy yo yishayv yo yishayv yo yishayv deilu yo yishayv deilu oy 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 Lishmoya, lishmoya, Elorinu, v'yelatfinu, lishmoya, lishmoya, Elorinu, v'yelatfinu, lishmoya, 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 Elorinu, v'yelatfinu. Tzava va yasiru so oy me yamedo malayloi shia va hinu beruzo ki karban kuli le yavo elo oy tawara Nisevechu Oya baba ise Ngedo baba hilavoi Tarai nisevechu Oy segedo baba hilois Oy segedo
Okay, nice mood setting to listen to our prayers and to our song, Hasidic rendition, usually hand motions, typical of Hasidim, in prayer, not only the mouth, but the hands also in prayer. And we're going to look at later on today the way music is so critical to the high holidays and the kind of music that we use and why we use it as we use it. So, I'm going to open up our service. We got half of a minyan. We'll start by the time we're ready. We get the whole minyan in. It's a slow day, Labor Day. Everybody's laboring to get up. Welcome to Hollywood Temple Bethel.
Facebook counts for the minion.
Who?
Facebook.
Facebook. Okay, we're going to count them in. And there are people here in the picture also. Welcome, brought to you by Hollywood Temple Bethel. Support your local synagogue and help us keep this going so we can bring messages of comfort and uplift to people everywhere. So we begin our service with the Shochenah, the traditional introduction of the service on Shabbat morning. Shochenah marom v'kadosh shemaho v'chatur anu tzarikim baronai la yesharim la tehila b'fi yesharim titalav o divrei tzarikim tiporach o v'shan chasidim titramam o v'keref kedoshim tihitkahadash o v'makalot v'bevot amcha beit Yisrael v'nisham chalkeinu v'chodav v'echlale v'lekales al kol divrei shirot v'shpachot David v'nishai abdecha meshichecha. Let us give praise to your name forever, our King, God, King, a great and holy King. Yishtabach shimcha la'ad makenu va'el hamelech hagadol hagadosh b'shamayim v'aretz ki l'cha adonai Eloheinu ve'Elahei avotenu shirush v'chachalev v'zimra oz v'memshala netzach gedulav Torah tilav tiferet kedusha malchut merachot v'odot me'ata v'yad olam baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol b'tishbachot el ha'odot adon haniflaot aboche b'shir ezimra melech elchei haolamim. I don't have yet a virtual minion, so we're going to just move on and to the opening first blessing of the morning, which focuses on the concept of the morning. Yotzer or v'choshek, God who creates light, creates darkness. Oseh shalom v'ret hakol, creates all, creates peace, and creates all. Right? Peace indicating completion. Then why repeat v'ret hakol? Creates everything. It would be obvious if I said peace and completion, then hakol. Because hakol includes that which is not peace. Hakol includes that which is on the dark side, and which is darkness. And that was the original quote from the prophet Isaiah. But the rabbi said, hakol, we bring everything, which was Isaiah's intention. All that exists is the creation of God. What we see as evil, physicists would talk about light. Darkness is the absence of light. Evil, the absence of the presence of God. So all our job as Jews, to fill the world with the presence of God. And that solves evil. And so we continue with El Adon with the music of one of our great masters, Shlomo Carlebach. And try it.
Kol hamasim Baruch u'mevayrach B'fi kol haneshama Yodai v'tubai Haimalei aylam Nasus v'una Sai mevimaydai על חייס הקודש ונהדר בחויד על המרכובו זוזו מישה לפני וחיסאי חסד ורחמים מולך ועידי היי בימי איירייס שבורו אלוהינו יצורם בדס ובינו בהשכל כוח ויכול גבורו נוסד בוהם ליאס מיישם בקדם תבל מלאים זיו ומפיקים נויגה נוי זיבון לכל לילה שממה וחיבת ססו סוסים בבויון ואוי סימיימו ואוי קיינו לה 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 לה
Okay, and I see. I saw somebody said voice of history, and I think that is that Joe. Hold on. Is that Joe Alexander and Reba over there coming on board? I think so. All right.
No, this is Simon.
Simon also. Okay, yes, I got Simon and also good. Shabbat Shalom, welcome. All right, so we are going to continue our service. The little bit of Kali Bach, and now we come to the voice of the angels. The Kedusha, three times holy. Has a fancy Greek name, Trisagion, three times sacred. We have the vision of the angels in heaven. And we go on the bottom of this page, and you can see this introduction. Kulam ovim, kulam berurim, kulam giborim, kulam asim beyoretzon konam, v'kulam polchim lepiem b'gdusha avtara, v'shirau v'zimra barchim shapchim farim maritzim u'magdishim u'mahamlichim et shem ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanara kadoshu וכולם מקבלים עליהם על מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים ברשות זה לזה, להקדיש ליוצרם, בנחת ורוח וסברימה, קדושה כולם כאחד ביראה, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh,
Kadosh,
Adonai Tzibao, Boretz Kivodo, Zofanim V'chayot
I told you
HaKodesh,
how beautiful you are.
Ashkara Mitnasim Lumat Serafim, Vadam Shafim B'Omrim, Baruch Kvaranai, Mimek Ho. And our crowd is getting bigger. We have our minyan, a little bit more. Several people are away this weekend, taking advantage of the break, running away from 110-degree heat in LA proper, 114 to 117 in the valley. Can't blame you if you want to get away. The beach is only 100 now. And we'll go ahead with, the theme of the morning lights. This one, again, God has created the lights, create a new light to shine upon us as well, the Jewish people. Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir v'nesku kulanu me'ara. May you create a new light upon Zion. May we all delight in its splendor. Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir v'nesku kulanu me'ara li'aro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. And now we're going to continue chanting together. Avar Rabbah, great love, have you loved us, the people of Israel? And it's expressed in the Torah. Avar Rabbah haftanu Adonai Eloheinu Em lagenu lavitena chamata aleinu Avinu makenu ma'avor avotenu Shabbat Avinu makenu Lamdein Fuke Hayim, Kain Techadenu Lamdeinu, Avinu Aparachamon, Amrachem Rachem Aleinu, Betem Libeinu Lahavin Lahaskin Lishma Lil Modu Lil Lamed Lishma Velasot. Olekayim Mekol Divrei Talmud Torah Techam Yahava Ve'areneinu V'torah V'dahabek Libeinu B'mitzvotecha Ve'yached Levaveinu Li'ahava U'lira Et Shemecha Ve'lo Nevosh Le'olam Ha'ed Ve'lo Nevosh Ki Beshem Ka'adshecha Agadol V'narabadavnu Nagila V'nismecha Nagila V'nismecha B'shuatecha. Then we go into the Hatikva mode. V'havienu l'shalom me'ava kanfot ha'aretz v'tolichenu kamemiot le'atzmeinu Ke'apaya yeshuata v'nuhata mikolam v'lashon Ke'raftanu l'shem chagadol Selah Selah be'emet lehodot lecha u'yachecha u'yachecha b'yahava Baruch atah Adonai Abochei b'maiseh b'yahava. And we continue.
Wait, let's see.
Oh, and I realized I did not put on my talit. Okay, sitting here. Gotta keep cool. I'm gonna put my talit on. If you haven't done so. And ready for the Shema. Take upon ourselves the privilege of the mitzvot represented in the last paragraph. Go ahead. And we join in together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchut Levet. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'el asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinamtam levanecha v'dibarat bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha v'lecha b'derech Shachbecha u'bekumecha וכשתמות על ידיך, ויהיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבת עמזות ביתך ובישעריך. And we continue. And let's continue now with together the last paragraph of the Shema, as we take the tzitzit. Vayomer Adonai Moshe Lemor Daber Bnei Yisrael V'amata Alehem Vasu Lahem Tzitzit Al Kanfei Bignehem Lidorotam V'nadno Tzitzit Akanaf B'dil Techelet V'Elechem Letzitzit Uritem Otos Hartem Ekol Mitzvot Adonai Vasitem Otam Be'elot Tatur Acharei Lechem V'acharei Lechem Asher Atem Zonim Achreihem למען תזכרו, ועשיתם כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים ללכם. אני, אדוני לכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. קנאי לכם אמת, לכם אמת. And we continue now, giving thanks for the way that we as Jews have experienced God's liberation in history, focusing on the Exodus, culminating with the song of liberation at the Red Sea. Ilod le'elyon baruch hu mevorach Moshe u'bnei Yisrael l'chanu shirab simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi kamocha Eloheinu Adonai mi kamocha nedor hakodesh norati lo osef ele Shira Chadash Shipo Geol Shimcha Asepataya Shira Chadash Shipo Geol Shimcha Asepataya Yachat Kulam Odu Yachat Kulam Odu V'Lechoya Adonai Elov Le'olam Va'ed Zor Yisrael, Kumar v'Ezrat Yisrael, Ovlechinu Melcha Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai Gal Yisrael. Now we're going to continue with the Amida. Page. There we go. Going to figuratively rise, if we can, from our places and the Amida together, and then the Kedusha. Adonai sifotai tiftach upi yagid tehilatecha, and together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ha'el Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'koneh Hakol V'zocher Ha'tevot V'gevneihem L'man Shemo B'yachad Melech Shem Baruch Adonai Magin Abraham Poked Sarah Atagi Bole Lamadonai Mechayim Metim Atas Avlo Shia Morit Hatal Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechayim Meitim Berachamim Rami Tzomech Melofim Berofeh Olim Omakir Asurim Omekayim Emunato Nishei Amar Michamo Chavagirat Omido Melech Memid Umechayeh Umatzmiach Ne'eman Atal Chayot Beitim Baruch Adonai Mechayeh Hameitim.
Mekadesh.
the Kedusha.
Mekadesh.
Together. Kadeshim
Simcha
Habalam,
b'olam.
Kishem Shemaki
Kishem
Shemata
shmoy shmoy
Bishme
shalom shmoy
Marom,
maram.
Karatu Bayan
Yiku
Nevi
yadu
Har
v'yeh.
Karazazevi
Kol zeh zeh
Amar.
v'yah.
Together, Kadosh,
Kadosh.
Kadosh,
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 Kadosh.
Adonai
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 Tzivot,
Tzivot,
Oretz
Tzivot. Haaretz kivod.
Kivodo. Azbikorash Gadol, Adiv Chazak
Adir chazak
Mashmim Kol,
mashmim kol.
Nikmasim
Nas
Lumatzerabim,
matzerach.
Otam Baruch
Tam borech
Yomeinu,
lamed.
Baruch Kevar
Kavod
Adonai,
Adonai.
Mimekohoho.
Memkonecho malkan
I'm
Yosef
Kamcha,
Simlach.
Malkeinu Tafia, Tim Lochalim
Simlach
Kimachat
lan
Manach
kamachat
Nulach,
manach lach.
Matai Tim Loch
Yod
Betzion,
b'tziyah.
Tovim
Olav v'maynu
Tishkam,
v'yamvu etishkom.
Tit Gadal Betit Gadash, Betoch Yerushalayim, Ichaled Vador, Unetzav Netzachim, V'eineinu Tirena, Tirena Malkecha, Kadavon, Om B'Shireinu Zecha, Ayde David Mishikecha, Yemlo, Adonai Le'olam Elohim Tzion, L'Davada, Hallelujah. And I invite Cantor Finkelstein. Cantor Finkelstein together with
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד תוד לך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, לדור ודור, לדור ודור. לדור ודור נגיד תודך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו, ממנו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. יהיה מלך גדול, מלך גדול,
We're going to continue. A little echo. I'm going to try to see. Okay, I think that took care of it. There was an echo coming in on the mics. We're going to continue now with Amida on our own. I'll scroll through and then come back to Vishambu. Yes, ושוב חודשים ברכה ברוך אדוני ישוע. טוב, לחיים טובים. ולחיים ינוח הצל, לעלות שמך באמת. פעיל שועתנו בזינו, סלע, ברוך אדוני, עד פרקך נלך, שים שלום טוב ברכה. ולחם הרבה שבת שלום. ולחיים הצל שלום. רצון רבי וגם לפניך נאלהינו ציבי גואל יעשה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו והכויסה במרו and back to the Shamru there was Shamru bottom of the page, and I have Cantor Beth Hillerin leading us on this one.
The Shamru, page 54.
The Shamru.
Give it a second to load.
בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
חצי כאן.
I'm not sure if the sound is coming across well. Do you hear well on your end? Okay. Sometimes it seems muted. I just want to be sure that you're all hearing it well. Now we are the period leading up to Rosh Hashanah. We add the Psalm. It is the 27th Psalm. And so there is in the 27th Psalm one phrase that's very particularly beautiful. Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem. There's one thing I've asked of God, just to sit in His sanctuary and take in the splendor and the glory of God's presence and enjoy, breathe it in, take it into me. And so then I found a tremendous number of musical variations on it. So I wanted to share this with you. I also say, I see Joe Alexander for the first time. Okay,
Yeah.
come on. Okay, so
Good
we're very
to see you,
happy.
Joe.
Good to see you. We got it worked up. Okay, so we're going to go in Achat sha'alti me'et Hashem. I think of this sitting in the sanctuary as a place of ultimate repose. And I think to myself in my career as a rabbi, how many times I've walked into either the chapel, the sanctuary, this synagogue, any other synagogue, and there's somebody sitting there by himself or herself, just sitting, quiet, not wishing to be disturbed, unwinding in the presence of the sanctuary. And what it means for us is a place of refuge emotionally. We can't run to the sanctuary now. God willing, we will be able to come into the sanctuary, to the chapel, hopefully sooner rather than later, to find our rest and tranquility. So we go to our unit of study and learning, and we come to Kevil chapter 2, the second verse, Rabban Gamliel Nosha Rabbi Judah. Okay, so Rabbi Judah is the editor. His son obviously still has a hand in the editing process of Mishnah, puts himself in. Yafeh Talmud Torah in Derech Eretz. Migiat Shnehem Mishkachat Arbon. Right? In fact, we'll just stop at that point. Then next time we'll continue to expand on it. Yafeh Talmud Torah in Derech Eretz. The word Derech Eretz means literally the world, the way of the world. We know, for example, in other religions, the idea of the way of the world is a term for getting bogged down in everyday life and it gets in our way. But it's not the Jewish concept. Yafeh Torah in Derech Eretz. Study Torah is good with the way of the world. What do we mean by the way of the world then? The way of the world is you work and you reap your rewards. You work and you reap rewards. There's no reward without the work, physical work in this world. Yafeh Torah in Derech Eretz. So one cannot be a student of the Torah without being engaged in physical efforts of developing this world. Now, none of us are in physical efforts anymore. It's all in the computer, but it's still an effort. Brain effort is also an effort, right? Things that build, things that construct. There is not this idea of retreat from the world. We may retreat from the world once a week on Shabbat. 6 days, we're back in the world. And there's even another phrase elsewhere in rabbinic sources, Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. The occupation in this world is given to us before the Torah is given to us. It's the first thing we have to do. If there's no dough, there's no Torah. Very realistic. And ultimately, why Talmud Torah and there? Why not just work? Why not just be a scholar? You know, somebody else is working, I can be a scholar. I'm working, somebody else is learning. Together. Why? The effort and the tiredness involved in them keeps you far from sin. Mishakahat, you forget about sinning. You're working, your mind is tied up. You are sitting and learning something, your mind is tied up. You put the two aside, you're not working, you're sitting on the handout, you are not developing yourself. Where's your brain going to go? That's classic Jewish thinking. That's classic Jewish thinking. We're going to go ahead then. By the way, that also tells us that all the idea that yeshiva students should be given a free ride is really contrary to rabbinic teachings. And that in antiquity, rabbis did not get paid. They would get compensation for the loss of time because they had to be fed, but they would be expected to be involved in the community working at something. And that was the standard. That was the standard. With that, we go to the Kaddish Rabbanan. Those who are saying Kaddish, please join with me. Yit Kadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'Amad Divrach Yirutei v'Amlich Malchutei v'Chayachom v'Mechon v'Chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'Galav Zman Karev Yimru Amen. Yei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'Olam L'Omer Maya Yitbarach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitzoman v'Yitnasei v'Yithadar v'Yithaleh v'Yithalal Shemei Dekucha Berihu Leila Mechopir Chata v'Shirata Tush B'Chata v'Nechmata Damyom B'Yoma v'Yimru Amen. Al Yisrael v'Arbanan Al Tamidehon v'Kol Tamidei Tamidehon Command Yaskim B'Oraita Di V'Ata Hadein V'Di B'Chol Ata V'Ata Elhon L'Chon Shlom Rabba China V'Chisa Rachmin Hain Arichim Zone Eviche V'Korim V'Korim V'Lon B'Yishmaya V'Yimru Amen. Yehei Shlom Rabba Min Shemaya Chaim Tovim Aleinu V'Akoyse V'Yimru Amen. Ose Shalom B'Yimru V'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Akoyse V'Yimru Amen. And we now come to Hollywood Bell again. Your sponsor for Shabbat Services. And we come to the Ark. Simon, thank you for the picture. I have an open Ark that I can put in. And we begin our Torah service. And let's join in. אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור, אדוני מלך,
Adonai Malach,
אדוני ימלוך
Yimloch
לעולם
Le'olam
ועד,
Va'ed,
אדוני יעוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, עבור רחמים, היטיב ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים,
Yerushalayim,
תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבך לבב פתחנו, מלך הרם ונישא, אדון עולמים. ויהי בן סהרון, ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאך מפניך, כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. And we continue. In him do we trust, and to his sacred name we call. Be'anarachetz, ve'lishme kadisha, kadisha yakira, ana'ama tushbechan. Be'anarachetz, ve'lishme kadisha, kadisha yakira, ana'ama tushbechan. Yehi rava kachatama. תפתח ליבי באורייתא, ותשלים משלים בליבה לכל עמך ישראל, לטוב וחיים ולשלום. Amen. And we come now to our Torah reading, to the portion itself. We're in the portion of Ki Tavo. We are running up against the deadline. We're running out of portions to read in the Torah, so we know that if that's true, Rosh Hashanah is coming up. So, as rabbis and as people involved in congregations, we're nervous. We have to be ready. So Moses also is looking at his time, and his time is running out, and he's getting nervous. And he's trying to get people ready to enter the land. So we come to Ki Tavo, and we have two ceremonies, interesting ceremonies. We have to do the bringing of the offerings to the temple when it would be established, in the sanctuary when it would be established. And this is a future. Moses is sitting on one side of the river. He's looking, you guys are crossing. Here's what you're going to do. Ceremonies to remind you what you're about. And then it continues then with the ceremony on Ha'eval and Grizim, a mountain of curse and a mountain of blessing. Cursing, basically, whoever doesn't fill the obligations. Some of it's social justice, like stealing land that is not yours. Some of it having to do with the integrity of the family. You know, anybody who came of age in the Make Love Not War era, the theme of a popular song, you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. All right, all's loose. The Torah said, no, we focus on the family. And it means we give up some privileges in order to guarantee the stability of society. Well, that's right in there. Takes many shapes and forms. This loyalty in order to create a family. So that is part of it also. And then, as I say, Moses is getting very worried. He's sweating. They're going to go in. He knows the future. And he sets out a long list of what's going to happen. You guys are going to forget what you're about. You're going to go and you're going to get exiled and you're going to get worn down and beaten down. So, and he ends there at this portion at the end of the verse. So you better shape up, be ready. So, but we look at the first two of these declarations. The first one, you come to the land and you take the Reshit Pri Adma, the first offerings of the fruit, you bring it to the sacred place and you have a declaration. And this declaration is made by all who come in, and this declaration becomes the core of the Haggadah. Then pay attention to the actual original text. You have a Torah text and you have commentary. Well, the whole book of Exodus is really too long. If I had to build a commentary on the book of Exodus and have a dinner after that, you'd have a whole few weeks going. So instead, the rabbi said, let's find the summary, the best summary, and they took this one, the summary of the Exodus. That's how Arameo Vedavi, my father's a wandering Aramean. Goes down to Egypt, few in number, becomes a great nation. Right? And so the Egyptians defeated us, we cried out, God saw our affliction, and lines that we know very well. He took us out, Zra Nituya, Memora Gadol Oftim, Oftim, an outstretched arm and great wonders and signs. And brought us to this land of milk and honey. That's the whole Exodus in just a few lines. The whole thing of the Exodus in just a few lines. And that is, and then I give you as a thanks. Then the second declaration goes in the third of the years, the yearly cycles. So first 2 years, we bring the first 2 years, we enjoy. Third of the cycles, this is the offering that is now given to those the disadvantaged in society. The Levi, because he lost his land in order to serve the people. Ger, the one who comes in as a stranger from another land, he settles among you, you can't have a part of the land. Land goes by family inheritance. So he needs to be taken care of. Yatom v'almana, the orphan, there's no father in care. Almana, the widow, no man, because that was the reality of the world today. Today, it's 50-50, although women who are alone have greater poverty than men today too. So that is still in need of fulfilling, right? But then what do? We make a declaration. And we have to say, we have removed the sacred from our house. I have guaranteed that I gave it. I'm making a declaration, an oath. It's an oath in the temple. I gave it to the Levi, to the disinherited Levite, to the ger who had no portion, the stranger had no portion. The orphan has no father to protect him. The widow has no husband to protect her. I gave it to them. As you have commanded me, and I have not gone beyond it, and all of your commands I have not neglected. No, it's not all. This is the one about feeding those in need, and it's equivalent to all the commandments. And then an interesting sign. I didn't take any of it while I was in mourning. What's wrong with that? Mourning. We, as Jews, we eat when we're in mourning. Right? No. It's an important part of my tradition, but I did not touch it for this. I have not touched it while I was unclean. That's also part of the mourning. You dealt with the dead, you're unclean, you need to be clean. No. Lo natati mimeno lamet. I have not given it to the dead. Oh, okay. In other societies, we give offerings to the dead. Right? You go to Japan. I was in Japan this year. You go to all the shrines, all the burial places, and you have altars. You give offerings. And it's in other societies also. And the Bible didn't deny it. They didn't outlaw. But they said, not of this. What you think is so sacred, your parents' obligation, filial piety, this is to the living and not to the dead. And the rabbis say, we didn't expect anybody to give food to the dead, so they say, well, it's like using money to buy the coffin and the shrouds and so on. But the same idea. As much as that is important, the filial piety of honoring our memory of those before us, this, the living, take precedence. And that's the oath. So I think it's very beautiful readings for this day. So with that, Joe Ben Lulu is, I give him a break today. He's away. Quite a few of other people are away today also. So I'm going to do the reading. But Joe, I'm going to let you do the Torah blessing for us.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I have a question. The blessings and the curses. The curses seems to be very predictive of the future of the next 500, 600, 800 years.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be written a little bit later?
That's a good question. How the Torah is put together. That's all sorts of speculation. But certainly, as it's being put together, the good part of this is watching what happens in reality to nations when they violate their oaths. The language, want to be technical, the language of the oath is the language of treaties between a subject nation and the king. And then in the real world, that's the way the treaties are written. That you are loyal to the king, fine. Not. This is all the devastation, the same language about the mothers eating their children and the sun turns, the sky turns to iron against you. All that language. So this is the reality of the world as people are into the world's part. And so they could understand it very well. What happens when you don't follow the contract, the covenant. When it's put together, how it's formulated, that's a great question. The message is there. Okay.
I have another question. It was what percentage? And it was given every 3 years, I think, especially to the Levites, no?
Right. So it's the maaser, the 10th of the produce. But instead of eating it at the temple, you gave it to the people. 2 years, you eat well, you have a good time, but also during those 2 years when you do it, you also have to give to the Levite, right? So they're not left out on year 1 and 2. They have to be fed also. But in year 3, it's just to them. Yeah. Okay. So, Joe, you're on mute, but I'll let you do the Torah blessing for me. Joe Alexander, on behalf of all of us, is our senior here. The voice of history, Joe. I love that label. And you can turn off the mic. You can turn on the microphone if you want. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah.
On the iPad, you touch the top.
I think he's got I think using the phone also to connect. Okay. The phone, I think, is *6. Okay. No, give it a try. Still unmuted, but we'll do it with you. Okay? We'll do it with you. Asher b'chabanu mikol amin benatan lanu et torato baruch atanai noten haTorah. And count the first few verses. Kitab el haaretz asher Adonai lecha noten lach nachala v'irashta v'shafta ba v'lekachta merishit kol pri adama asher tabim me'atzecha Adonai lecha noten lach v'samta batene v'alachta lemakom asher yivchar Adonai lecha nishaken shmo sham ובאת אל הכהן אשר יהיה בימים ההם ואמרת אליו הגרתי היום לאדוני אלוהיך כי באתי אל הארץ אשר נשבענו אל אבותינו לתת ולקח הכהן הטנא מידיך וניחו לפני מזבח אדוני אלוהיך וענית ואמרת לפני אדוני אלוהיך ארמי עובד אבי וירד מצרימה ויגש שם מפני מעט משם לגוי גדול עצום ורב ויראו אותנו, וראו אותנו המצרים יענונו, ויתנו עלינו עבודה קשה. ונצעק אל אדוני אלוהי אבותינו, וישמע אדוני קולנו, וירא דרכנו, ותעמלנו ותחצנו. יוציאנו אדוני ממצרים ביד חזקה, ובזרוע נטויה, ומרע גדול, ואותות ומופתים. יביאנו אל המקום הזה, וייתן לנו את הארץ הזאת, ארץ זבת חלב ודבש. ועתה הנה הבאתי את ראשית פרי האדמה אשר נתת לי אדוני בנחתו לפני אדוניך, השתחווית לפני אדוני אלוהיך, ושמחתי בכל הטוב אשר נתן לך אדוני אלוהיך ולביתך אתה הליק אשר בקרבך. Okay, and now we continue with our prayer for those who are ill. There we go. משברח אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב. הוא יברך Esar Leah, we yivărech את החולים. May the Holy One who bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Becca, and Leah, bless and heal Esther, Elisheva, Pinchas, Terskovsky, Miriam, Leah Dorf, Jirachislav, Ben Galina, Moisey Kelchik, Mindy Levins Pfeiffer, Jennifer Levins, Ronnie Dura, Harriet Levins, Moisey Ben Manya, Barbara Mormon, Esther Gerson, Joe Alexander, Robert Drato, Roger Rosen, Rachel Flalo, Jenny Drato, Marcel Schinder, Susan Tuckman, Shirley Marco, Fira Feinberg, Judy Alkali, Richard Zeller, Carmen Fraser, Leva Batzar, Hannah Batzar, Liao Ben Chava, Shoshana Batzava, Herb Mormon, Irina Hosepian, Alex Trebek, Hannah Sarah Leah Bat Shlomo Meir Ben Rachel, Hannah Sarah Bat Kaila Alta, Alan Whalen, and Hiram Nexty. Please give me the names of those you want to add to our prayers and our thoughts.
Rachel Batventura.
Rachel Batventura. You can unmute your mics to do it.
Wendy Keller.
Wendy Keller.
Gaby and Tito Gorodicho.
Gaby and Tito Gorodicho. Joe, I know you have names always.
Shimon ben Yeshayahu.
Shimon ben Yeshayahu. I think Joe, I think you can try on your phone. I think it might work. Okay. No.
Rabbi, Joe's mic is not even showing up.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's not on here, but he's on his video.
I think if Joe will touch the top of his iPad on the very top, you'll see it says unmute.
Let's see.
On the screen, touch the screen.
Touch your screen, Joe.
Try. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Got you.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well done, Joe.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. You got it.
Okay.
Okay, I got David Mordcha ben Yehuda Noach.
David Mordcha ben Yehuda Noach.
Simon Harlev.
Simon Harlev.
Tony Ronan Der Harlev.
Tony Ronan Der Harlev.
Susan Feinberg.
Susan Feinberg.
And Sherman Lippman.
Sherman Lippman. And anyone else? Okay, so for all of them, we pray, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishlach Alehem Refuah Shlema Ud Nefesh V'Guf. May the Holy One send them healing, both in mind and in heart, to them, and to the whole house of Israel, to all people who are ill, of all nations and all races and all creeds. May they all find healing. And there's also a man who would join in with singing with Debbie Friedman.
Oh, good.
May the source of strength
Amen. Everybody. Now we come to our Haftarah, again in the series of Haftarot of consolation. Kumi Ori from chapter 60 of Isaiah. Come, arise, for your light has finally dawned, and the glory of the Lord will shine upon you. All right? And while darkness covers the earth, God's presence will shine upon you. That's the theme for our Haftarah as we approach the new year. יפח עלייך מעולם חיל גויים יבוא לך שפעת עלים תחסך ובכלי מידן יפעת כולם משבח יבוא זהב לא יישאו תהילות ארוני יבשרו כל צאן כדאי יקבצונה אליהן ויגשתונה יעלו רצון מזבחי ובית תפארתי לפאר. I'm going to go down to the last verses. ועמך, כולם צדיקים לעולם ישו ארץ, נצר מתי, מעשה ידי להתפאר, הקטון יהיה לאלף, עציד לגוי עצום, אני ארנוי ביתה, אך תשיינה. Your people, all of them righteous, shall possess the land, and the smallest shall be to 1,000, and the youngest to a mighty nation. And I, the Lord, will bring it to them. Speaking
you can't see this.
Now, this is Labor Day. So I thought, instead of regular prayer, we sang something in honor of people who are working. The essential workers, those who kept food supplies going while everybody was shut down, those who were working in the hospitals, and those who were in the clinics trying to get the testing done that had to be done. All these people that kept us going while so many of us were shut in. And so this maybe is a very special Labor Day in many ways. And so I was looking, of course, most of the Labor Day songs are all copyrighted. We have to be careful what we do. So I found this one that someone had put together. And I said, okay, let's express our thanks to people who really make this country stay and stick together.
Let's give a hand for every working man and women who work the whole day long. They're the ones, our sisters and our sons, who made this country strong. They're teachers and they're truckers and they're store clerks. They're nurses and they're waitresses too. They're flight attendants, agents, and mechanics. We owe our thanks to you. They can't rely on a trust fund to keep themselves alive. They break their backs for their families. They gotta work to survive. They're fishermen and factory workers. They're carpenters, office workers too. They're bartenders, barbers, and beauticians. They give their lives for you. They got no family fortune. They never had a butler or a maid. They struggle with insurance and the mortgage and getting the phone bills paid.
I think the wording of this song was very true, really, for what's happening now. People were, in many ways, risking going. Dr. Norman, you have your hand up here. Did you want to add something? No, okay. Let's go ahead. And this week also saw something interesting. Two warring countries in the Balkans are in the process of making good with each other, Kosovo and Serbia. Serbia is going to recognize the independence of Kosovo in some way or other. And both of them are agreeing to open up embassy in Jerusalem. It's part of the deal. So, considering that Israel is having a devastating time with dealing with the virus right now, and they shut down very well and then they opened too fast. So it's good to have some good news for them all. So the prayer for Israel, Cantor Rachel Gold. put our
Precious
Torah
teaching do I
back.
give you, never forsake my Torah.
1 second. And I'm going to go ahead, return the Torah to the ark, and then move on with the service. So I'm going to continue. There we go. Yeah, let's join in. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Allu Hashem Adonai, Kinis Kosim Olavado, Od Eretz
Ayarem Keren
Erem Ramo,
Le'ila Lecho Chasida Livnei Yisrael
Amkerob,
Hallelujah,
Hallelujah,
hallelujah. Mizmor David.
Holda,
Havul Adonai
Adonai,
b'nei Eli.
Eile,
Havul Adonai kavanos. Havul Adonai kavod
Adonai,
shema.
Shema,
Ishtach havul
Yakavul
Adonai
Adonai,
b'hadar
Benada
kodesh.
Kodesh.
Kol Mayim el kavod yirim. Adonai mayim rabim. Kol
Kol
Adonai
Adonai,
malkach.
Adonai,
Kol
Kol
Adonai
Adonai,
Adonai,
b'hadar.
Melech
Kol
Kol
Adonai
Olam,
Adonai,
shomer
Adonai,
arazim,
Sheboyachim,
v'yishaber
Moishe,
Adonai et
Adonai,
hazeh havonos.
Adonai.
V'yakin v'kamei gevesayom kemol enreimim. Kol
Kol
Adonai chosed
Adonai,
Adonai,
b'votesh. Kol
Kol
Adonai yachim
Adonai,
Adonai,
midbar.
Melech
Yachil
Olam,
Adonai
Adonai,
b'makadesh.
Kodesh,
Kol
Kol
Adonai yachol
Adonai,
le'layolot. Yechasop yorek. Echalo kulo omer kavod. Adonai
Adonai,
lahavol yashar. Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. And it's time he. This,
It is the tree
what's
of
the
life for
sound?
those who grasp it, and all who uphold it are blessed. Its ways are pleasantness, and its paths are peace. Help us turn to you, and we shall return. Renew our lives as in days of old.
Nice. Beautiful.
And with that, the ark is closed. We join in Enke Eloheinu, And for Enke Eloheinu, I'm going to go to this Chazan out of Mexico who combines this Jalisco band, mariachi band, to lead us in Enke Eloheinu.
Hey, 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 nay, 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 que lo que en Catoneno, en que Malqueno, en que Mochieno, ni que lo que ni Catoneno, ni que Malqueno, ni que Mochieno. Catoneno, en que Malqueno, en que Mochieno, ni que lo que, ni Catoneno, ni que Malqueno, ni que Mochieno. Catoneno, en que Malqueno, en que Mochieno, ni que lo que ni Catoneno, ni que Malqueno, ni que Mochieno.
So we start to wrap up our service. Head with Aleinu together. Aleinu the Shabbat Ladon Hakol, La Tekro Layot Seyer Breshit, Shelo Samikye Haratzot, Velo Samanur Mishpachat Adama, Shelo Sam Chakenu Kahem, בגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויסד הארץ, משה מקרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, ואלוהינו אין עוד, אמרמכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויתת הים והשבעת אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. There we go. That's it. Now, we come to recall those who passed away in the past year. Andrea Vasilev, you're familiar, comes on once in a while. She's done some beautiful music parts as well. And she recently lost her father, and she had to fly back to the East Coast for that.
I forgot to put her father's name on the...
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up here for us. Father's name in Hebrew, Yaakov ben Avram Basara, and his name, his English name, Jack Petsko. May his memory be for a blessing. I have some beautiful recordings from Andrea. We're going to incorporate them into our holidays services for us. We also recall Harry Kyle, passed away this year, and this is the yard site of Michael Yakovlev. I assume this is Liba's Yakovlev's relative.
Luba's, yes, Luba.
Yeah. All right. Memory be for a blessing. Those who are reciting the Mourner's Cottage, please join with me. And we recite, Yitkadal, Yitkadash Shemei Rabba, Bi'alma Divra Chirutei, Bi'amlich Malchutei, Chaychon Rechon, Uchayed Chol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Zman Kori Vimru Amen, Yehei Shmei Rabbon Vorach, Bi'alam Olamei Amaya, Yibarach Vishtabach, Vipo'ar, Vitomam Yitnasei, V'yit'adar, V'yit'aleh, V'yit'halal, Shmei Kucha Beri, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechamata, Damion Bi'alma Vimru Amen, Hey Shalom Rabba Min Shemai B'chaim Tovim Aleinu V'Koisem V'Yomein Ose Shalom Bimrama Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Koisem V'Imru Amen. Again, this Shabbat is brought to you by Hollywood Temple Bethel, and we're going to wrap up with Olam, and I have this version by a lovely singer, which I recently. Sem Azar.
He
So we wrap up our final Shabbat service, and I wanted to get us into the setting for high holidays. So what we're going to do is look at the Machzor and look at music that shapes the high holidays, because there are tones that appear on high holidays that are different than on Shabbat, than on weekday, on the regular festivals. And there are two kinds of music tones that we just have. The standard music, I just found this out, I've tried to figure out what I've been doing all along, is I'm singing Phrygian scale. Phrygia is a region in the center of Turkey. The Greeks gave their music that name, Phrygian scale, Phrygish, and it's also sometimes called the Jewish mode, because among other peoples, Jews adopted that particular scale of singing, and it is different. And go into music theory, Western scale, you have very clear differentiations between each of the 8 steps in the octave range. You have sharps, you have flats. The Phrygian scale plays a little bit on that so that it doesn't go all the way. It plays the note, then a touch off, and intentionally, not being off key, but intentionally missing the key slightly in order to create a mood and a mode. And so this is found in Jewish music, found in flamenco music, found in much of Eastern European music throughout the Mediterranean. It gives us, our music is very special flavor, sometimes also called Havarama mode in Jewish circles. It's a klezmer structure also. You find that die, 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 die. Notice the step, it's just a little bit off the way Western music would have it. So that is most of our music, but for our holidays on top of it, we have what is called Sinai. Music that goes back by old Cantor tradition to as old as Moses on Sinai. Now, it's not as old as Moses on Sinai, it's somewhere in the Middle Ages, but it comes into Ashkenazic music. So whereas the classic Jewish mode is actually Ashkenazic and Sephardic equally. Both use the same scales. Sinai is particularly Ashkenazic. It is a medieval music structure and adopted into the holiday services to give it special blend. So certain things that you just have to have on the high holidays. One is, open up. One second. I'll try to learn the page a little bit for us. All right, you go into the Baruch Hu. All right, simple, very simple. It's got a particular pattern. It's going to repeat itself in the evening. It's going to repeat itself in the morning. And you've got ha ha ha, right? You've got a lot of ha ha ha. Right? And then a refrain. All right? So rather than go off key, myself, found a cantor who sings a nice, pleasant, straightforward selection for us. So let's see if I can get it to come on.
את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Now, you have the ha, 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 all variations on ha, ha, ha. The cantor can take off and weave it back and forth into the standard. And then you have the end. Right? You have an ending that repeats itself also. And you have your interaction with the blessing. The cantor says, Baruch atah repeats itself throughout. The congregation, Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo da dam 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 dam. Right? That gives it the flavor. Then the Amen is different, right? Da, 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 da. Amen. Right? You've got that repeated throughout. You can take a look at Mi Chamocha also, right? That has its own particular refrain, goes through in the service. Here a second, if you can see it on here. Move this away. All right, we got Mi Chamocha B'Elim Adonai. That carries through the same refrain. Mi Chamocha B'Elim Adonai. Mi Kamocha Neder B'Kodesh. Narati Lot Osei Fele. And that's a refrain also. Repeats itself through the services, right? So it's this tone. It's a different shift you see from Mi Chamocha B'Elim Adonai, which is a regular Shabbat, right? Or Mi Chamocha B'Elim Adonai, just chant on a weekday service, right? You want to create this atmosphere that something special is happening. And so that's the tone that gives our tone in the services. Now, get something else. We all know Chatzi Kaddish, right? Now, how many kinds of Chatzi Kaddish can you do on high holidays? And each has a different tone. One more dramatic than the other one. So I'm going to pick some selections here for you. I pulled the page of the Chatzi Kaddish up here for you, in front of you. You can see it there. Okay, enlarge it a little bit.
Yeah.
And here's straight for just the evening of Rosh Hashanah Chatzi Kaddish. There we go.
Okay, I think I
Adal v'yitkadash shemech rabah b'yalema divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon uvechaye dechol beit Yisrael magala uvizman kariv v'meruhu amen.
So now we come to Shacharit, and we allow ourselves a little more embellishment in it.
Oh,
we got the ha.
Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Nahai, B'yalma Divrach Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, Ahai b'chayechon, u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Uvizman kariv v'meru amen.
Okay, so he's taking off more. It's the same underlying theme, but now he's more ha-ha-ha, going into it. And now we come to the Musaf. Same Kaddish. And this is the musaf that you're most familiar with, because this has the refrain that everybody joins in.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah miyalama divrah chiruteh v'yamelich malchuteh
This is what we all join in on.
v'yomeichon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael Hagala ubisman kariv veimeru Amen. Yehesh me'raba mevorach le'olam lo me'alamaya yitbarach.
All right. And he, as a cantor, is playing it safe. He's not hitting some of the notes that a lot of good cantors will hit. He's keeping himself in place. His voice is okay. But as I say, he's being careful not to go to the range that some other big name cantors will go to. Now we come into the Ne'ilah, which is the last, right? The last service of Yom Kippur. We're going to wrap it all up. We're going to package everything as dramatically as we can, because this is the last chance. The gates are closing. That's the meaning of Ne'ilah. And so the Me'ilah HaKadosh has its own particular structure. It's the same one that we use on Shmini Atzeret when we have the last prayer for rain, because that's our last chance to get the rains. And so we want to get that feeling that this is our last chance to do it right. So now, take it from here.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah B'alaman divrach chiruteh v'yamelich malchuteh b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Magalau v'zman kariv v'meru amen yehesh me'raba mevorach le'olam u'olamei almaya.
All right, so how we've taken it step by step, up, and that's all the ahs, right? So when you have a cantor really lets loose on the ahs, it can go all over the place. It's just like in jazz, improvisational music. You have a core riff, you have a core mode, you have a makam in Arabic, and you play on that variation. And ha 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 plays so much a role. We all know that. We walk into the service and we don't see the ha 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 going on. We feel we've been cut out of something. Okay, so now let's look some more ha ha ha. Like the opening of the Shacharit, right? The very beginning of Shacharit service. This year's and past years we've cut down on the Shacharit. It's just the shell of what it was. But if you know, you open the Shacharit, instead of just Shochen Ad, you can jump.
Okay. You can keep it for me.
Just before Shochen Ad. Okay, I won't even try to find it.
Spaghetti, lasagna.
Hold on. Right. You start it with one line ahead of it, which is Hamelech. On festivals, you go a few lines before to El Batatsumot.
That is Simon's
background.
yeah.
Turn off.
Okay, so what you have, Salmon or?
Just here. Let me just put this
We
off.
can hear your conversation, Simon.
Okay, I'll just put it off for a second. Okay. All right. We're okay. We can come back on. And we change the wording by one letter, where it opens up in the regular weekday. It's on Shabbat. It says Hamelech Hayoshev. This is the king who sits. So it becomes who sits is an attribute. Now Hamelech Yoshev becomes a verb. The king is sitting. Court is in order. And so you start out also the ha 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 or ha 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 Hamelech Yoshev, and again da 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 da. Akiseh Ramanisa. We want to get the mood chord is in order, right? That's ha ha ha, giving us this mood. Look at the same thing with the Amida, right? The Amida also. We're going also in full strength with the ha ha ha. A lot of ha 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 in our service, right? That's what makes it flow. We all can come in. Then we come in with Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, and Amen. Right? There we get our flavor. The Baruch Hu. We got the trill coming in. Here's the regular Musaf Baruch Hu. Let's get the opening.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Hahel Hagadol Hagibor Vehanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim.
Now we go, same prayer, we give it its Ne'ilah twist. All right, it continues the theme of the Kaddish for Ne'ilah. The Ha's are much more extensive.
Baruch atah
different mode, a different theme or mood to it also.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Ahoy, Ahoy, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor veHanora, Ahoy, 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 El Elyon, Gomel, Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol.
There is even, we might say, a tinge of sadness in it, because we've had a big experience on Yom Kippur Day, emotionally, filled with emotions, and now it's all coming to an end. And so if there's something of a wistfulness of, I'm going to miss it in this line. Okay. So,
also, I'm hungry.
Huh?
Also, I'm hungry.
The stomach is working on this, right? Yeah, all right. There are all sorts of things that we have in here, elements that we add into the service. You know, there's special lines, Zochreinu l'chaim, melech hafetz b'chaim. Remember us for life, O King of Life. B'sefer Chaim Tovim, inscribe us in the Book of Life. We have the Avinu Malkeinu, we just can't do without that. We have our traditional Avinu Malkeinu that everybody knows, Avinu Malkeinu. And we have the famous one, Janowski version that Barbara Streisand made famous. One of my teachers of Jewish liturgy said, you know, Avinu Malkeinu basically says, our Father, our King, we have no good deeds. We're useless. Therefore, help us. So that's not a happy line. So why does everybody sing Avinu Malkeinu? Very happy, very happy. Because they said finally they know something. They come across a line that they know, so they're happy to sing because they know. All right, Avinu Malkeinu. We've got the Unetana Toka for this theme. We have the three themes. Other themes, the Mida of Musaf, of the Rosh Hashanah, and Yom, particularly Rosh Hashanah, has the three themes of kingship, remembrance, and the trumpet blast. And key in them is what we call the Grand Aleinu. It's also in the Yom Kippur Musaf. And cantors like to call it Grand Aleinu because it's very, very elaborate, much more so than our regular Aleinu, right? Our regular Aleinu is Aleinu l'shabech lado on hakol. That's sort of kind of a Gregorian chant. Bum, 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 bum. And this one goes, Aleinu, right? And da, 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 da. Now, that is one of the classic Misinai modes. Going back to Moses at Sinai mode. And it has elements that also are picked up in the Kol Nidre, and I'm going to go to that in a second. It is associated with the Crusades, where the Jewish community of one city in the Rhineland, Blois, B-L-O-I-S, Blois, are captured. They're put in a castle. The castle is set on fire, and as they are being burned to death, they sing Aleinu with this particular melody. That is the tradition that comes out of it. And so some music theoreticians think that that melody then came into Kol Nidre and was adopted into the Kol Nidre also, some of the elements of it. So, all right, so we listen to this Grand Aleinu, and you think of the connection with the martyrs who would rather die than give in.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו תהם בגורלנו, ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Don't we also associate that with, I mean, I associate it with supplication, more supplication. Same thing with the line in Avinu Malkeinu.
This one is a.
I mean, this is where we, or at least you go, you fully prostrate.
Right. And the reason it ties in with the martyrs in Blois is that key point in it is that they are mishpachot adamah. They're creatures of the earth. The raging mob, people who act like that, are creatures of the earth. And in the original line it says, Shem mishtachavim lehevel v'reg. They pray emptiness and vanity. We, right? Our lot is not like this. As much as they're killing us, we are proud to be in our heritage, and we have our portion. And so for that, the tie-in is, with the martyrs is very strong. It's called the Jewish La Marseillaise sometimes. The march of the Jews, proud as Jews, even though we're being attacked by those around us. And that's its impact, especially with this particular. Now I'm going to give you one last selection. Obviously, what could High Holidays music be without Kol Nidre? And so, going to put this on for you. Give it a second. Okay. There we go. Okay. It sounds familiar. It's called Beethoven String Quartet. Adagio quasi un poco andante, a little bit slow. That's what he calls it. So now, if you haven't guessed, you know this one. And you see how similar it opens up. Okay, we're getting feedback. Just keep all the mics off. Right? Joe, I'm going to keep your mic off because I think that's what's giving us feedback. We're running interference with the, I guess, other internet users in the building. This is 400 megabytes. Okay. So I think you all could sense that Beethoven has picked up on something from here. And so the story is that Beethoven was hired by the large synagogue of Vienna, which was looking for a great composer of classic European music style to create music that would be appropriate because Jews were Europeans. And he worked on it, didn't come up with something, and so he dropped the project. But as he was working on it, he was learning Jewish music. On top of which it said they had a Jewish girlfriend on the side. So very different from da 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 or da 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 da. You know, da 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 da. Right? In major scales and some European scales, it comes out. You saw that adagio, very different from, I guess, anything else that you have from Beethoven, that you expect from Beethoven. And the tone of Kol Nidre is in there. You can feel it, right? So something that goes back, Sinai mode, as old as Moses, old as the hills, right? Enters through Beethoven, maybe through his Jewish girlfriend or from him listening to Jewish music into this adagio. It was very interesting to note that the great general of the Bismarck era of the Germans, the Prussians, then Germany, what became the German Empire, von Moltke, that was his favorite piece of music. And he had a violinist, who was a Jewish violinist, and he would bring him in to play that Kol Nidre for him, just for himself, right? That was his favorite piece of music. It has become a perennial American favorite also. It's replayed. Jan Pierce has done it. It was on American TV repeatedly every year at Kol Nidre when Perry Como, who was not Jewish, would sing it for his audience on Kol Nidre Eve. He would sing it. Certainly maybe the best known then Jewish composition of all. So I'm going to wrap up with it with a question of, if Kol Nidre is so widely beloved, why did the rabbis want to get rid of it? Right? That's food for thought. And but none of you ever knew that. The rabbis wanted to get rid of Kol Nidre for a variety of reasons. Because they were afraid that people would think they wouldn't have to do what they committed themselves to. And so they tried to kick it out. And they couldn't. That's the power of tradition. Emotionally, it meant too much for the people. Non-Jews used it against us. They said, I can't trust the Jew. He goes in front of his ark on the holiest day of the year and says, God, whatever oaths I make are not oaths. And Jews would be forced to take a special oath saying, I swear that the Kol Nidre oath does not absolve me of this and so on. And even though in rabbinic teachings, the oaths that Kol Nidre absolves us of are oaths that have to do between ourselves and God and not of our commitments to our fellow human beings. Right? So, just as I say, the power of the people. The rabbis may say one thing, it's the people. So with that, we have a flavor of the holidays, a flavor of the high holidays. We'll get through our technical glitches. I know that we saw this slow in starting up. And this is now on my new super internet service. I'm supposed to have 400 megabytes up and 30 megabytes download. So, or so it's
the other way around.
Yeah,
the other way around.
30 megabytes upload, 400 megabytes download. So even with that, if there's other stuff going on in the building, that's going to get in the way. If there's traffic on the internet, it's going to get in the way. Traffic on Zoom, all of those things interfere.
So your upload is, Rabbi, your upload is 35, is 30?
Somewhere around 30. And that's the max that they can give. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a problem,
That's
because
what
if
you're
it's 30,
getting
if you are buffering this much at 30, I mean, bump us up.
Yeah. What you
Because
might, What you might be able to do is to actually download the YouTube to your hard drive,
Right.
so that you save one step.
I have a card, so
Yeah.
Card.
That would be the way to do it. I know there's software programming for free that's supposed to do it.
No, they don't do it. They don't really.
No, so you maybe have to pay for one and get it done right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this Cantor Virtual Cantor is materials online. It's a great teaching material because it's very straightforward. It's simple. He's got the frills, he's got the bells and whistles needed for high holidays, but not overly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that separately, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Not here.
And he has nice material also for general. So if you want to learn, it's a virtualcantor.com. You can learn every element of the service from